Welcome to the Stump, where I discuss various forestry issues, career, personal development, anything else on my mind. I'm your host, Matt Comiskey, and today Ryer Becker at the University of Idaho joins us on the Stump. He is the Forest Operations Extension Specialist at University of Idaho. I'm glad you could be here today, and how are you doing?
Hey Matt, thank you. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me though. Been listening for a few of your episodes anyways. Yeah, look forward to having the opportunity to talk and share a bit about what we're doing here at the university. But yeah, glad to join.
Yeah, well, glad you're here. Yeah, workforce development seems to be kind of a hot topic these days.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, how'd you got into this, what brought you to the University of Idaho, and kind of
Yeah.
what you're doing there.
Yeah. Well, shoot, how far back? I grew up outdoors. I grew up in the woods, in the forest with my grandfather is probably the biggest influence of that in my life. He didn't have a high school education. He never finished. He worked on the farm growing up, but he knew more about the outside, the natural world than anyone I've ever met in terms of birds, plants, flowers, everything. And that just something that he poured into me growing up and something I appreciated. But actually going into college, I started out in engineering. My dad's an engineer. I thought that was something that I'd be good at. Everyone told me I'd be a good engineer, and I hated it. It was first year in, I was struggling. It just wasn't something I was enjoying, and it took about everything I had in me to ask my dad if he'd be okay if I switched my major. I just thought he'd be really disappointed and everything, and he's like, if I could go back, I've already done the same thing. Do what you want to do. And I had a buddy who went to Paul Smith's college, where I ended up going, transferring to. He graduated a year ahead of me in high school, and he's like, "Yeah, this is amazing, great industry, great field to get into." I hadn't really known much about forestry before that, other than trees and managing forest. My grandfather's a naturalist, not so much a forester, but transferred, spent 3 years there at Paul Smith's, graduated, and then had the allure of the West kind of calling my name. So Paul Smith's is Western New York or Northern New York. I'm from New York originally, but had the allure of the West kind of calling, and I wanted to go see what was out there, see what was available in forestry. I knew it was really a huge part of the industry and everything that went on. So I had the opportunity to meet actually with some folks from the University of Idaho at a Society of American Foresters conference in Charleston, South Carolina. Kind of had an informal interview there for a grad position, and then 2 months, 3 months after I graduated, I packed bags, drove my truck out west, sight unseen, to Moscow, Idaho. I have to be honest, it wasn't what I was expecting driving into Moscow, going to school for forestry. I kind of driving through North Idaho and Coeur d'Alene and what I thought, oh, this is great. And then all of a sudden it disappeared as I entered the Palouse. And I'm like, where am I going? And that was, I don't want to say shocking, but it's like, okay, well, I guess this is where I'm at. And I thought I'd be 2 years in master's and leave. And that was 11 years ago almost. So I'm still here. I continued on to do my PhD because I knew I wanted to stay at the university or stay at a university and teach. Something I didn't think I'd want to do originally, but something I fell in love with doing. And then it was soft funded, grant funded for a bit at the university, but we saw a lot of opportunity to be here doing things and a lot of exciting things happening. So I didn't want to move on after I graduated. So I did what I could to stay. And then there's the opportunity for this new position that I have that came about in October, and um, hopped on that. That was kind of my dream job. I have what I think is the best job in the world right now, is the forest operations and products manufacturing extension specialist. It's a long title, so I generally just drop the second part there, but get to work with our stakeholders in the state of Idaho, loggers, contractors, haulers, the mills, people I've been working with in different capacities for 10 years, but now in a more permanent, formal, professional extensions position, which has been great, as well as teaching at our university in our 2 and 4 year programs, and really have taken a real big interest in just passion and workforce development, training the next generation, equipping that next wave of people who are getting into the industry or hopefully getting into the industry. So
Yeah, okay. So what type of things have you been teaching at the University of Idaho?
yeah.
I have a different but slightly similar background. Grew up in Seattle. I was going to be an aeronautical engineer, hated it. Somehow ended up at the College of Forest Resources in Seattle. I mean, learning
Okay.
forestry, but so it's always interesting to me how people get there. But so, what type of things do you teach, or have you been teaching at the University of Idaho?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's come full circle in some ways, going back to engineering. I teach operations, forest operations, logging, harvest systems type classes. I started out in civil engineering because I like that side of engineering, the equipment, the heavy machinery, the moving dirt and building things. And that was kind of what drew me to civil engineering. Now it's kind of full circle. I'm not in engineering, but I'm, I guess, loosely forest engineering and equipment and the operation side of things. So um, I teach, yeah, and I switch on and off with one of our other professors, Rob Keefe, with our roads class, our cable system, steep slope class, forest operations 1 and 2, which is introduction to harvest systems and logging equipment, and then forest management planning and kind of setting up a timber sale. And then I also teach a forest mapping and GIS course, which is really an applied take on a lot of GIS courses that we have just for our dirt foresters, our guys out in the woods, boots on the ground, and our contractors as well. And that's what I teach within our 4 and 2 year programs here. Um, there's other things I'd like to teach, but I I can't take the time to do that. So um,
It sounds like a pretty full schedule already.
yeah.
So I guess I'm really kind of curious to learn. When I hear extension, I usually think of, like, here in Washington, we have the Washington State University Extension Office, and
Yep.
we have a few foresters in that program that get out and they interact with particularly small forest landowners, those type of things. But so, kind of, what does a forest operations specialist extension person do, and what's kind of the program? I mean, obviously, I've seen, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have seen, you are very prolific on social media with highlighting equipment and machinery and the workforce outreach. But I guess I'm still trying to understand a little bit more, what is the extension aspect of it?
Yeah, and that's really I would say honestly something I'm working on developing and building right now because this is a brand new position. This is something that hasn't existed before. I think I am really thankful to be part of our extension forestry team at the university. It's grown threefold in the last 3 years. I went from 2 to 6 people. So not that it's a huge team, but it's growing, and I get to fill that niche of the forest operations, and that's really um, being the nexus between the research world and operations and boots on the ground, and finding those connections, how we can support our contractor base, our manufacturers, our producers with contemporary recent research, and also how I can conduct and develop a research program around what our contractors and what our stakeholders really want to see in the operations world, whether that's harvest system assessment, cost and production analysis, even just mill capacity, those types of things. So it's really what I've been working on right now is assessing the needs of the industry and working with our landowners and our stakeholders and our contractors about what are they interested in, where do they see gaps in knowledge information that we can help support through research, through applied research here at the university, through my extension position, but also then disseminating and educating and sharing that, and even sharing and educating about research that has been done that they may not be aware of that might help inform their decisions. So very similar to how extension specialists work at other places and other expertise in other sectors, but I just get to do that in the scope of forest operations and products manufacturing, which is yeah really something I'm passionate about, something I love working in, and I work with I think the best people in the best industries in the world via the forest products industry. So it's great to get to kind of fill this role and support them in that way. So
Oh yeah, no, I think that's a tremendous value add, and I think especially, you mentioned being able to bring, like, what research has been done, because I mean, let's face it, most people are out in the woods working. They're out in the woods working. They're not necessarily probably on their time off out searching the research journals
yeah, yeah,
for the latest and greatest. And I'm also kind of curious how often some of your stakeholders teach you. I know for myself, you mentioned your grandfather didn't finish high school. Some of the trickiest logging things that I've learned have been from high school dropout loggers, who are wicked smart. They just weren't very good at making their way through school.
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I can go out and claim, For all intents and purposes, from the academic world, I am an expert in this field. I am whatever you want to call it. I have a PhD in it, but I go to the woods and I have to humble myself really quickly because those guys know more than I ever will in many cases about what they do because they do it day in and day out. And I mean, I can bring some knowledge to them, some information to them, but I also have to be very quick to listen and very quick to hear what they have to say. And most of them, most guys I work with, I don't think know I have a PhD because I don't. That's a moot point. That doesn't matter to them. That doesn't matter to guys I work with in the woods. And me bringing that up just is a quick way to I don't know, lose some, I don't know,
Okay.
credibility, but they don't care. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're counting something that we don't care about. And
Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, I think that's one thing about this industry, that I really appreciate, especially on the operations side, is it doesn't really matter if you have a
no,
PhD or if you're a high school dropout. It's do you know what you're doing and can you work and do you want to work with other people to make things better? And that seems to be kind of
absolutely.
a universal value across it. So how long has this extension position been around? And what kind of drove University of Idaho to create it?
Yeah, so they floated it, they put it out for um interviews and stuff last August, and I got hired on in October, went through process. There's some other candidates, and I was very fortunate, very glad to be hired into it. But this brand new position hadn't existed before that point in time. So it was just kind of a recognition that this was a space that needed some additional extension support, especially when we talk about the value that our forest products industry through our contractors and our mills bring to our state. But as you mentioned, most of them don't have the capacity, the time to go and figure out some of this information because they are so busy doing everything else. But can we have someone helping facilitate some of that knowledge gathering and sharing, dissemination, and support for them and what they're doing to help them and for them to teach us as well? So we can take that and disseminate to other people, our stakeholders who may not know what's going on in the woods. And it's a facilitator in many ways. I see it as between academic world and the industry, and kind of being a bridge in that. So it's a new position, something that's uh, great because I can kind of make it what I want it to be in some ways. The downside, and I'm going to say the downside, but the challenge with that is I can make it as big as I want it to be. Also realizing there's only 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week, and those fill up really, really fast. And I also need to take a break once in a while. I've been told so.
Yeah, I
It's
get
finding that balance, and but it's a job I love. It's a job I wake up every day and look forward to going to, which is something I don't think everyone can say, unfortunately. But it's yeah.
it does sound like a blast. So it hasn't been around for that long. You haven't been in the position, but what's kind of the biggest challenge that you found so far?
Yeah. It's not prioritizing, but knowing what to say yes to. Not I don't want to overcommit. I want to make sure that I follow through with what I commit to and what really step up to support. And there's just so much out there with a new position with kind of this not existing before. There are so many needs. There's so many things I could be doing. It's finding, okay, how do I do things sequentially or in a way that makes sense strategically so that they can build on each other, or that I'm not, like I said, overcommitting resources or time to stuff because then I'm not serving anyone very well. I catch myself just have to take a step back sometimes, like, okay, I have this amount of
Yeah.
time. I have these commitments already. What is it that I need to really focus on? And that I think that's the biggest thing because I have a lot of people that are really excited about this position as well, and folks I've worked with for a long time who are really excited about it as well. Whether it's contractors or stakeholders in different spaces, and it's continuing to build those relationships and work with them as well, knowing that okay, I have some security or stability in this role too, so I can take maybe on some bigger projects that before I was a little dovetailed or stuck in what grant funding was available and what I had to meet based on what the sponsoring agencies wanted. But now I have some more flexibility in doing some other things as well. So
Yeah. Well,
limited
cool.
time of the day, maybe that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, the learning to say no, I
Yeah.
understand very well. So what's a few of the highlights that you've had so far?
Yeah. Oh, golly.
Just one or two of those things that just really stick out that when you think about it, wow, that was really cool, really fun, or really impactful.
Yeah. Well, we've had some really awesome opportunities to do some, and these a lot of these are things that have been going on for a long time, but some different career exploration events and different ways of bringing the industry to students in kind of a career fair, career exploration, workforce development type event that we bring multiple schools in. I've been able to partner with some folks on those, be a part of some of those, and bring logging simulators to those. And seeing kids' eyes light up or see a light turn on when they get the connection between logging and the rest of the industry, and they might see logging, but they don't understand the benefit of it or the value it brings to the state with the endowment lands and our trust lands here in Idaho through Idaho Department of Lands, and being able to share some of that. You start seeing lights click on and they're like, oh, okay, oh, that makes sense. Or just some of that stuff, those preconceived notions, those misconceptions they have about the log industry that I'm able to dispel pretty quickly just because I'm able to share something contrary to what they might have heard in passing from someone and bring actual facts to them. So through those career exploration events, that's been one way. And then, um, golly, I work with the best people. It's hard to say, but just being able to see the love, the passion that a lot of our contractors, a lot of our stakeholders that are in the woods doing it every day bring to their jobs, and getting to kind of experience that and share that as I get out to the woods with them to see different things, for them to for themselves to light up and kind of talk about what they're doing and how stuff they're proud of. I mean, they're incredibly proud of the work they do and what they've built and what they're managing in terms of the resource, and just being able to experience that with them and share that with them a bit has been really, really great. And then at the same time, hearing some of the things they're coming up against and being able to talk through how we can maybe work towards trying to find solutions to that, and just seeing those conversations come to life and plans come together has been really, really cool. It's really easy to get down and discouraged about the state of things if you look too deeply or maybe not too deeply into things. But it's good to see and highlight the good stuff that comes out of the industry and that is happening now, and to be able to help show that to the public, but also to encourage our stakeholders in that and be able to share in that with our stakeholders as well. So.
Yeah. So I guess kind of maybe building on that, since you mentioned the going out to the kids, and I know the simulator trailer. Just kind of thinking, it sounds like, in talking with you, previous guest Marie Price, and other guest Blake Manley, it seems like Idaho is really, I'd almost argue, I'm sure I'll get a few haters for this, but I'll say they're kind of in the lead on this whole forest sector workforce development. So what do you think is the broader industry, kind of from where you sit, your perspective, that we can maybe do better to connect with kids at an early age to expose them in the careers? Because I mean, we still have in this here, at least in Washington, a bit of a, every kid needs to go to college
Yeah.
narrative that is changing. But I guess what can we as an industry broader than just Idaho maybe do to kind of help expose kids to what's available out there?
Yeah, we have to be better advocates for what we're doing and what we're working in and what we're proud of, and be proud of to speak about those things and share about those things. I know I originally I got into forestry because I wanted to go work in the woods by myself and do my thing. And I mean, I'm in a much different space now. I talk to people for a living, which I love to do. That's changed, but I think a lot of our industry just either doesn't know what to share or how to share it, or is just so busy doing what they're doing that they just don't advocate well enough for themselves. And I think it's getting everyone to the table to share the similar message, the same message, but also be proud of that message of what we do to help support healthy, sustainable, resilient forests and what we bring to our economies, and um, really develop pathways for people to get into that space. Because we can talk a lot about there's jobs out there, but if no one knows how to get there, it's like, okay, how do we take someone who, college is not an interest of theirs, or a 4-year degree is not an interest in them. Okay, how do we then prepare them or equip them or educate them with other pathways and ways to get to the end goal of getting into the industry one way, shape, or form? And that's, I think, something we're doing really well in Idaho, or working towards through different curriculums they're working on, different CTE, career technical education pathways that are and development for forestry, for natural resources. Because at the end of the day, that stuff's really critical to set that hook and really give them a pathway and give them a way to support getting into the industry with education, with just awareness that we exist in the first place and that we're a good thing for our states, for our region, for our country, for our world, and what we're doing, and dispelling some of the maybe lies that are out there about what the industry brings or doesn't bring and what it does or doesn't do. So I think that's something we're doing really good in Idaho. I think that's something we could work better together across state lines as well to have joint efforts in kind of supporting some of this education, some of this pathway development, and just some of this advocacy for ourselves as an industry that what we're doing is good and what that looks like and what the realities of that are. Um,
Yeah, no, that kind of just leads right into my next question about your thoughts on replicating or expanding it to other states. I mean, we have WSU Extension, but like I
yep.
said, there's no real forest operations side of things. We have the, Washington Contract Loggers Association. They kind of run the oh boy, the name just went out of our logger safety program, and
Yeah.
that
Yep.
LSI, that's what they
Yep.
call it here. But it seems like, and there's a lot of interest. I have a meeting sometime this week about, a forestry program through a CTE type school. But I guess I'm trying to figure out how can we better make sure that we're all aligning? Because while there are differences maybe between West Side cable logging in Western Washington and cable logging in Idaho, it's still cable logging. There's still so much of this is transferable no matter where you go. And so I guess, do you see
Yeah.
any key ideas of how we can do better?
And from a foundational level, the skills and the competencies and knowledge is all the same. Once you start specializing in places, that's where it changes. But okay, what is that foundational level of knowledge, understanding, competency that we can really come to a consensus with and disseminate, share, educate on? Yeah. Ultimately, I think it all comes down to money, one way, shape, or form. We need people. We need to be able to fill positions, support positions for people to do this. That's the biggest um, bottleneck I run into is human capital. I have all these things I would love to do and love to step into. I've these simulator trailers now, a lot of opportunities there, but I'm only one person, and I don't have the resources to hire someone else. There's not likely going to be resources for me to hire someone full time. It's we need a way to support more people to help stand some of this stuff up, to facilitate some of this stuff, to support some of this stuff. Because I mean, you know it. I know I can't take on much more elsewhere. I mean, other people can't take on much more responsibility, so we just need other people at the table who are excited and passionate about this as well, and be able to support them to move the needle and move things forward and move it together, and then allow us to come together in some way, shape, or form. And that people capital is such a bottleneck in so many ways. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it impacted us actually here in Washington State. We had April 9th was our first ever Forest Products Day at the Capitol during
oh
our
yeah,
legislative session. I mean, it's hard to believe that 2025 was the first Forest Products Day, but it was.
in Washington,
But
yeah.
we ran into a problem of Centralia College here, about 30 miles south of Olympia, has a mobile teaching trailer with a logging simulator. But we ran into the problem of, well, one, it's big, requires a semi truck to tow it.
Oh really? Yeah.
And two, I mean, so you need a driver, you need a big space and do all that. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your trailer because I've seen pictures of it and it seems much easier to get that around to schools and different events.
Yeah, that was very intentional to make it as easy to take around as possible. So it's a bumper pull trailer, so you can pull it with any 3/4, 1 ton pickup pretty easily. And that was done because I saw other examples of these really awesome resources, these simulator trailers, but they require someone with a semi with a CDL to pull it. That really cuts down your pool of people, especially when you can make the money you can drive a truck. They're not going to going to be hard to support someone to pull a simulator trailer around. So that, and I wanted something that I could pull to. I don't have a CDL. I didn't know if I'd have capacity time to do that. And it's way cheaper to pull it with a pickup than a semi and the space constraints. So we have actually two trailers, a 28-foot trailer and 22-foot trailer. The 28 being the first one that took um, a lot of thinking, strategizing, and how you're going to set that up. That has four simulators in it, but in our college natural resource in the hallway, I had the whole hallway taped up with more or less diagram of how that trailer was going to be laid out. I knew the simulators I was going to put in it. I knew their footprints. So it looked like a blueprint on the floor and blue painter's tape. So I could kind of lay out, okay, can I do a 24-foot trailer with these simulators? Do I need a 28? Landed on the 28. I'm glad I did that. But even with 28-foot trailer, that limits you on some places I can take it because that creates a 60-foot truck and trailer combo, which is hard to get into places. We had, and I want to say that that funding came through Idaho Workforce Development Council. I'm super grateful for that to support that truck trailer and simulator combo. That's been a project I've been working on for the last couple of years. Then we had opportunity though, with support from some other partners, to get a second trailer. That one, I'm like, if I can go a little bit smaller, I'm going to go a little bit smaller. And that again was very intentional to get into places that that larger trailer is a challenge to get into. And you don't think it would, but 6 foot makes a big difference on a trailer when you're hauling it places. And just in the way that trailer was laid out, I learned lessons on the first one that I applied to the second one to make it more practical, to make it easier, especially when I'm doing stuff myself, to set up and execute events and outreach programs. So if anyone out there wants to learn what it takes to set up a simulator trailer, I am happy to share what I've learned and stuff to do and not to do and stuff I even with the second one I would do different on a third one if I ever do that. Not likely going to happen, but I can only haul one trailer at a time. The benefit of two is I can drop one somewhere. I have some folks who can run it, and I can take the second somewhere else, which we actually have happening here very soon. So yeah, it lessons learned, lots of experience, learning by doing, trial and error, and um, it's been an incredible resource though. And again, it was just making it as accessible, available, and easy to set up and get places as possible. And that's why I did bumper pull trailers. That's why they're all generator powered, so I can run them anywhere. They have onboard fuel cells, so I can run them for like 4 or 5 days, 12 hours a day on a tank of fuel, which gets you a long way for most events. And yeah, it's yeah been a learning experience, but something I'm willing to share and talk more about because I think it's a great way to get those resources in front of people in an easy way. So
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think you had, at least for the second trailer, you had some private sponsorship partners out there, I think.
yeah.
Is
So worked with so Green Diamond supported us at a really generous gift through their foundation they have to help really support that trailer. Some support came through the Workforce Development Council project I have. Tiger Cat Industries, some are local logging contractors as well. So Jesse Hunt Logging, Nelson Brothers Timber Management, Gem Forestry, all contributed to that trailer to make that possible. Associated Logging Contractors of Idaho came on board. We had Ken Miller Logging just recently gave a gift. Idaho Forest Group came on board and supported us as well with a gift to help support the travel of that trailer in the future. Not that we have it. I never want it to cost anything for a school to get it to them. That's really important to me. That just creates a barrier for accessibility. Um, so having industry support to really subsidize those costs to get it to a place is really important. We've had a lot of people come alongside us to make that possible because, again, a school is not going to be interested, or maybe not they're not interested, but they're not going to be able to if they have to pay to bring it in. Whereas uh, support from groups like Idaho Forest Group and those who see value in it, they can help support that, which they have, which I'm very grateful for. Those other folks I talked about, very grateful for. And it's the industry coming together, coming to the table, saying, "Hey, we see value in this. We see value in what you're doing. We see opportunity to support in this way, and that's what we need more of." And you talked about kind of how we bridge the borders and make this possible. It's bringing everyone in the industry together, even if it's a small amount. And it doesn't even have to be financially. It's your wisdom, it's experience, it's knowledge. That is invaluable in a lot of places. I I could share a lot about my experiences now that I have doing these different things that other people don't have because I've just done it long enough now for the last couple of years with these trailers to know, okay, this is what works, doesn't work. Okay, I can share that with someone else who might be interested. Not that it's a financial resource, but it's just that knowledge. And that's a very small example of people who have been logging for 40 years, who have much more maybe useful information to share and knowledge to share. But yeah,
It really is. To me, it sounds like about networking, and that's
yes,
how, facilitating not only the transfer of the knowledge and that kind of stuff, but then the learning experience. Hey, don't do this if you're going to build a trailer, or maybe do this.
yeah,
So, and I would think that with the trailer program, especially since I think you guys tend to try to reach out to a lot more smaller rural school districts, that helps a lot. Because I know one challenge we have in places here in Washington is you may have a skill center, but you can't put kids on a bus 4 hours a day to go to a skill center.
exactly. Yeah. Oh no, that's so true. I mean, we've been, I like to say, Boise to Bonners. So north to south in Idaho, we can take it anywhere, and that's critical because, like you said, a lot of these schools, especially some of these schools, have 50 students in the whole school. Okay, they're not going to have the resources or time or ability to bus them 3 hours somewhere, but I can come to them with something. We're going to Calder School here in August, our extension team, to take simulators and do some other stuff. There's 25 kids in that school, and it's 7th through 12th is all that school is. There's 25 kids in that school, and they're doing a summer program where we're just coming in, and that's just something we can do because it's mobile, it's accessible, and that was really important to us, to be able to have that ability. So yeah.
Yeah, what an incredible opportunity for those kids. Um, oh boy, I I had a question that I wanted to go to, and all of a sudden it just went out of my mind. Oh my goodness, and it was a really good question too. While
Well,
I'm
can I speak to something else just really
yeah,
quick?
yeah, no, go for it. Whatever
Yeah,
you want to add. This
yeah,
is
talked about people coming to the table, and I alluded to earlier these career exploration, workforce development, networking type events for students where we brought in students from different schools. And these are things that I've helped with, not necessarily led, but was able to partner with different groups on, and really industry came together. And that was where contractors had a place to bring pieces of equipment in or be present to talk to kids. And that's people talk about, I don't know what to do, or I don't have financial resources, but as we talked about, you have knowledge, or you can be present. People want to talk to these guys. They want to know what they have to share. They think they're interesting, or they can share a life experience of how they got where they got to a high schooler that I can't share because I'm not a contractor. I'm not a truck driver. I can't share that experience, but just being present, showing up to those. And we have, I think, a really great cohort of contractors who are really passionate about that, really care about that, and do show up to a lot of these things. And it's just getting more people involved to be part of that. And that's really what makes these things possible. And not just our logging contractors, but our landowners, our mills. We have people really excited and on board with this, and that's critical to really make this happen. And you need that buy-in for it to be successful in places like Washington and Oregon as well. Put think everything else aside and say, hey, we might be competitors from a mill standpoint, but at the end of the day, we need people across the board, and we need to come together and collaborate and cooperate and partner on these things. And we do that in Idaho, and I'm really proud of that, to be a part of that, to be part of that industry that does that. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, there is definitely some energy, and I think some building coalitions, collaboration. The Pacific Logging Congress and their Adopt a High School program, is really big out in
yeah,
Grace Harbor County, and if Roger and Carmen with R.L. Smith Logging to
oh
thank
yeah,
for a lot of that, and of course Rayonier, was a big landowner supporter of that. But
yeah,
no, I think you're right, and I that is one thing that I've found, in my day job work is that you're right. That I've told other people I liken the industry to kind of like a big family.
yes,
Um, you kind of got, your relatives you prefer not to deal with. You got your relatives you really like to deal with. Sometimes you got two bickering cousins or bickering brother and sister, but at the end of
yeah,
the day, the family still comes together when there needs to be. And in my day job, that's what I love, is that I've seen one company advocate for another company in the setting, but boy, at the auction table, watch out, the gloves are off.
yeah, yeah,
But at the same time, they understand that it is an ecosystem that you need to kind of have, to be successful, that everybody's kind of found their niches. And as if you
yes,
pull one of those plugs out, you have some real interesting challenges going forward.
yeah.
So what do you think's kind of next for the program and where you're headed?
Yeah, that's a great question. I talked about earlier having these pathways, these ways to get people on board, to get trained, to get supported. We have 4-year programs at the University of Idaho. We now in the College of Natural Resources have 3 2-year programs we're really proud of, we're really excited about. And those are the first 2-year programs the University of Idaho has ever offered in the history of the university. One in forest operations and technology, one in forest nursery management, and one in wildland fire and fuels management. Particularly, I work in the forest operations and technology degree. We actually had our first cohort of students graduate from that this spring, which we're really excited about. They're off doing great things now, working for contractors, working seasonal jobs with IDL, um, and just the future's bright for them. That 2-year degree is really setting up that future owner operator, that individual who wants a degree with a basis in operations, business, and forestry. They kind of get a taste of all things, a background, a foundation, and all those things they can then take into a professional career with a 2-year program versus a 4-year program. We also have had some students continue on outside of that, but I guess it kind of got on a tangent there. But what's next? We want to develop more pathways, more non-degree seeking options for students who maybe even 2 years is too much for them. Okay, how do we set up a training, a program, a way to get those people into the industry, in the logging industry, in the products industry, without needing to even come for a full degree, but a training program of some sort. We're looking at the apprenticeship model, so looking at ways we can develop and actively working and developing that. We have some really incredible, unique resources at the university through our experimental forest. We have about 10,000 acre school forest. That's a working forest, but maybe more critical to that is we have a fully mechanized logging side on our school force. So we have a feller buncher, skidder, processor, and we're working on sourcing a loader right now, giving us contemporary logging operation that we use for our 2-year students, our 4-year students, our student logging crew, but we want to be able to leverage for some additional workforce development and training outside of those programs as well, for those non-degree seeking pathways, a way to get someone into the industry through a multi-week program or some type of modularized training. All that stuff takes time, a lot of planning, a lot of ways to really strategize how to do it well. I mean, at the end of the day, all these things take a lot of resources, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is actually what industry wants or needs, or that we're not siloing ourselves and thinking, this is the way we need to do it. This is the way that university thinks is best. And we miss the mark. We pour resource into something that doesn't really deliver or doesn't really support the industry in a way it needs to be supported. And so we're taking our time. I just did a bunch of surveys with our logging contractors this spring to really help direct some of that development. We had 300 responses from our surveys or contractors, loggers in the state saying, what are your perceptions on this apprenticeship model, or how do you need to get these jobs filled, or what do you see as these competencies, skill sets that need to be met? And that's really going to help direct our next steps to make sure that we're moving forward again in a way that serves industry well, not just serves what we think industry needs. Because
Yeah,
again, we can
that
miss the
that
mark.
to me, wow, that is one, that kind of response rate is impressive.
Yeah, I will say we had a pretty captive audience, so I did put those out at our logger education advanced professionalism refresher, but at the same time they didn't have to respond, so they did. So I'm proud of that, but captive
Yeah, no,
audience does help.
it's something to be proud of, because I know, having done surveys in a quote captured audience unquote, I can't necessarily say I've been that successful with that kind of return rate. So
I think that shows interest, though. It shows that it's a thing they care about. If anything, it's that hey, they want their voice to be heard in this. And that's something I try to communicate when I put these out is this is your guys' opportunity to really give us feedback to help direct how we go forward, because we want it to be the best thing possible for you guys to serve you guys. And this is really how we do that. We can't have bicker and complaining from you guys after the fact if you guys don't
it,
at least let us know how you're feeling. Not that they ever
yeah,
do,
you
but
can't complain if you don't tell us what we need to do to help you. So
yeah.
then don't complain about that we're not helping you. So
Exactly, yeah. And on top of that, we had an opportunity to bring just over a dozen of our kind of key contractors in the state to campus and had a sit down for 3 hours about, okay, we have these standards, these competencies for this apprenticeship or training program model. Let's break these down one by one and see, hey, are we missing the mark? Are we hitting things? Are the things that are missing? Really setting the foundation for what a training program could look like, what the different competencies, skill set areas, units, so to speak, are, and how do we kind of flesh those out to make them into something that we can grow on and build into. And part of that's, hey, what do you guys care about, and would you be willing to support us in providing expertise in these areas as well? Because I I'm not a logger. I'm not a contractor. I'll never claim to be. I care a lot about the industry. I'm passionate about it. I can help facilitate and support, and I can bring some knowledge, but it's bringing industry to the table as well to help support these things, which is really critical because they know better than anyone, again, what it really takes in the woods, and it's using their expertise, their information to inform decisions we make, but also the resources we develop to then disseminate and get out in front of people. So all these things, it's comes back to engaging industry very actively in what we're trying to do for those next steps, that training, whatever that looks like, whether it's an apprenticeship model or training program or some modularized type training, something that really complements some of our other efforts, because we don't need to duplicate efforts. We don't need to recreate the wheel, but can we repackage or reuse things in ways that serves a broader audience or uh, more of our stakeholders in different ways? And I think that's really important. And how do we bring other people on board to really leverage resources? There's finite resources, unfortunately, in the industry. There's finite funds to go around. So how can we all work together to help? And that's across organizations, that's across entities, that's across stakeholders to really have a combined, concerted effort towards something that brings us all forward together, not trying to each do our own thing. Not that we can do everything at the University of Idaho. We can't, but how can we all work together and bring in partners that help move forward together? We're better together at the end of the day, and how can we make that come to life? So,
Yeah, no, that to me is perfect. I mean, that's really you hit it on the nail there. That there isn't an infinite amount of resources to go around. So how can we leverage the good work that everybody's doing to kind of move the whole ball forward?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, so how can listeners help support you in the work that's being done in Idaho?
yeah. That's a great question. First and foremost, I just get the word out about what's going on. If it's something you're interested and excited about, you want to be a part of it, reach out. If you want to partner with us and just be present at some of these events or help us put on some of these events and just be present as an expert in the field or just want to learn more, knowledge is power, right? We want to be able to get this in front of people as much as possible about the works that we're doing, that other people are doing, is one, an encouragement to people, but also as a challenge of, hey, come join us in this work as well. We're, again, better together if we're all working together. And it's just getting the right information out to the right people as well to, to kind of dispel some of those myths about what logging is or those misconceptions. And we want to help people share that message, share that good story. So share about what we're doing, share about our programs. We're always looking for ways to get more people into those or different things we're doing across the board or what our other stakeholders are doing. At the university, if you're interested in learning more about the simulator trailer or support what we're doing, that we have a giving fund set up through our University of Idaho Foundation that specifically goes to support some of that outreach education type effort. Again, I talked about we don't want to ever have to charge a school to go to them. That's something I refuse to do, but that means we need people to come alongside us and help support. Fuel's not free, tires and maintenance and stuff aren't free. If that's something you're interested in doing, reach out. I'd love to talk about what that could look like for yourself, your organization, to help support us in that way and partner with us in that. But end of the day, too, let us know how we can help. If it's some programming or some information you need, if you're a contractor or you're a landowner and there's a research question you have that you think the University of Idaho could work with you on, let's figure it out. Let's work out some way to help address some of these questions, some things that if you have, I'm sure other people have about capacities or whatever it might be. Again, knowledge sharing, information sharing is so critical, so important, and being together, being on the same page is so important too. So, yeah.
Well, cool. So that this is a perfect place to maybe kind of start to kind of wrap this up is how can listeners connect with you? Social media channels, anything? I'll put stuff in the show
Yeah.
notes. Maybe you can send me a link to that giving fund. And I mean, I see you on LinkedIn a lot. I think you post a lot of stuff on other channels. Where
Oh
can they
God.
find you?
Yeah, I'm across all of the socials. So LinkedIn, excuse me, Instagram, Facebook. Just search my name, you'll find me. Excuse me. There's not a lot of riders out there, so it makes it pretty easy. So if you search my name, yeah, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you'll find me where I shared a lot about what we're doing, some of the information. Um, excuse me, bad time to get going here.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I've had that happen too in the middle of a show.
Yeah, yeah. And then YouTube as well. I have a YouTube channel where I post some other content, just videos about what we're doing, equipment, different things. And then, shoot, where else? My email is, you can put that in the show notes, rbecker@uidaho.edu. That's the easy way to get a hold of me. So yeah, any of
Okay.
those things.
Well, cool. Is there anything else that we didn't cover you want to add? And I'll kind of drag this out just a little bit to let you clear your cough there. But it's always fun the timing that our throats decide to kind of act up on us. But so anything else we didn't get to or you want to add?
Um, I think it's important to recognize that, a lot of the work we're doing at the university is uh, an effort with a lot of people, a lot of partners, a lot of collaborators, a lot of people working together. A lot of the success that we've had is come on the support and the investment and just partnership of a lot of people in the industry, outside the industry, just really seeing value in what we're doing and wanting to be part of that. And we can't take credit for all of it. And we have a lot of incredible students that work with us as well, especially with the simulator trailers. We've had over 2,300 people through our simulator trailers in the last 14 months, and a lot of that was made possible because our students that I have in my forestry classes were excited about helping me make that possible. I can't do it all myself. We've had other people as well make that possible, and even outside the university, through our logging contractors, our landowners, our stakeholders, it's everyone coming to the table, really supporting us, making that possible, partnering with us. Um, we can't take credit for what we're doing fully because, again, we're better together, and we have a lot of incredible partners that help make what we're doing possible, and people that it's just really a pleasure to work with. Like you said, it's a big family, this industry, the forest products industry. So yeah, I just think recognizing that, and if anyone else wants to join that and be part of that with us, again, reach out through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, send a comment on a video, shoot me an email at rbecker@uidaho.edu. Any of those places, we're happy to bring more people along or help really find a place where you can help support what we're doing in one way, shape, or form, and support really what the industry's doing. I don't want to say what we're doing, thinking that we're the only ones doing it at the university. There's a lot of people doing some great stuff. So if we can help build those bridges, create those connections, and move forward together. I mean, rising tide lifts all ships, right? So we want to really help facilitate a lot of that, and it's critical. We're at a point where we need to be doing that, and we need to just really partner on things as an industry as a whole, across state lines, as a country, as a region. So yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you, Ryer, for joining me on the stump today, and look forward to maybe having you back on in a few months down the road, maybe next fall. You can give us an update of how things are going.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you for having me. Great conversation, and yeah, thank you.